In closing, I'd like to state that I'd like to quote two scriptures in the Holy Quran and the Holy Bible. And uh, basically, I talk about the end of times. It's in reference to the end of times and my analysis of the two scriptures and trying to bind the knowledge from them. And basically, as mentioned in the Quran, in reference to the Day of Judgment, uh, what they say is that the time is not known uh, when the end of times is, when the Day of Judgment is. And this time, which is Yom ad-Din, is confirmed in the Bible by Matthew 13:32-33, and basically what it says in the Bible too, in reference to the end of days, is that they say the same thing. They say that no one knows the day or the hour, not even the angels nor his son. Be on guard, be alert. So basically, both messengers of God, both uh, ambassadors to heaven, who are the not the gatekeepers, but the people that could actually allow people into the gates of heaven. Both are ascended angels, and it's impossible for a human who has evolved in Muhammad, which is a very powerful lesson for all humans to understand, because he recognized that he was a man first, and that he not defied, but he bested the system, the spiritual system, by saying that he's a man of man versus he's a man of God, meaning that he had to find all the flaws of himself to evolve to that state. Um, but I talk more about Muhammad later, and both of them are messengers of God. Now, the knowledge here is that Muhammad says that the two come together, meaning that him and Jesus or Isa come together to deliver the world from injustice and sin. So those are the two actual uh, definitions. But it's also, when you look into other scriptures, it's also to teach, meaning that we are not as much ignorant, but we just don't know any better, and we just don't understand. And basically, uh, what they're trying. Jesus came, was born into man, born into human body, born of original sin, and then evolved to become an angel. Now, he was divine and had an immaculate birth. However, the most important thing is that for Jesus to is that he had to go through all of the sins or experiences and to be exposed to the system, and therefore which brings the best mentally, physically, and spiritually, and then evolved and ascended to become uh, divine. But he and Jesus, Muhammad actually says that he's the true Iman, and if those two are ascended, and they and everyone's telling them and telling us in scriptures that we don't know the day or the hour, and it says to be alert, to be on guard, meaning that we have to pay attention to all of what the prophecies are saying. And Jesus also says, where I go, you cannot come. So basically they're saying that if we don't pay attention to all the signs and we don't start, and the first sign is that we have to evolve on our own, and and when that happens, first, if we don't take care of the planet, I mean, we're overpopulating it, we're over farming it, we're killing depleting the resources at phenomenal rates. Phenomenal, such an unjust word. At an alarming rate, and basically we're extincting everything. We're taking out the trees that are actually giving us life. And when we do things like that, we are actually committing spiritual suicide. And also, the burden of proof is intellectually overwhelming. The topics of science, physics, and spirituality and secret knowledge is the foundations of these interviews, which will attempt in humility to explain why we have skipped the first ascension into the second ascension process of human evolution, which also can explain why we're in this state of knowing that there's God and not understanding in our brains. And I request formally, whatever topic you find of interest, do skip to them. But once my work makes some sense, please follow them in order, in sequence, as listed in the subject index, as doing so will actually, there are ciphers in there that can only, I mean, when you want to activate something in your brain, you need to awaken it, and the only way you can do that is by recall of memory. And what we need to do is actually recall entire community of neurons. So you can't do that. You can't activate the entire neuron or the entire community. It'll just be sensory overload. At the first part will be sensory overload. What actually has to happen is that you have to slowly start activating the non-essential, not the non-essential parts, but the miscellaneous parts. And in doing so, it will activate eventually the hub, which actually in fact makes our brain work much faster. And right now the problem is that the hub part. So very quickly, here's the hub, a central station, and everything needs to get relayed into it for it to operate efficiently. But how this works is that it works, well, I don't want to get too complex, it's multi-layered, but it incorporates 7 processors, which we actually have, and this is the 8th, the spiritual partition. And it's the processor, not the partition, because the partition is a part of it. But what actually happens is, because we're missing this, it has to subroute other ways and around it, and just like it goes like this, and it's crazy because it's looking for the answers and it can't find them. So it's searching. It's like when you turn off your Wi-Fi and you're searching for a signal, you can't find it. And because you can't find it, it's like, well, what's going on? So what it does is, eventually, if you don't know how to turn on the Wi-Fi, which you can't, because that button that turns on the Wi-Fi is missing. So basically, what actually happens is that it has to subroute. And that's why we know spirituality exists, and that's why we feel it, and we understand it. And another thing too is that, and so we defend it. And in closing, one last thing that I'd like to say is that how is it possible that if you go from one culture to another culture, that you're telling me that they don't know what love is, and they don't know what the heart is, and or what their belief is. And in actuality, belief brings about the power of belief energy, and that's individual, it's personal, and it's indifferent to everyone else. And basically, what you're telling them versus, I mean, they defend their beliefs because they feel it. So then they say that it's justifiable that my God exists. And because they don't have the time to research the other religions, they can't go out and say, well, I feel the same thing too. But then you can feel love in any race, you can see beauty and innocence in every child. And because you see that in every child and in every person and in every culture, better than eating their food, or, I mean, the weirdest thing to say, which is contextually incorrect right now, or not case sensitive, is that their women or their men are beautiful. And it's so wrong to say these things. I mean, you're looking at the cover only, and then, but the good thing is when you do date them, when you do eat their food, you start to learn about their culture, and then you start to learn about their beauty in their culture. And when you do that, you start to understand that they too can love. And this seems foreign when it's not. And we have to learn that if the case is that love is in every culture and they can feel and understand and believe in God, then God must be in every culture, must be in every religion. So this is the bridge that we must cross. This is called the Rainbow Bridge. And basically what that really means in a nutshell is that every culture, every race, every color, every indifference, every right, every wrong, everything that we know, everything that we can feel and interpret and experience, and everything that we agreed to make together in mistakes as a race for the purpose of learning and evolving, brings us closer to God. And that's how we understand, and that's what we need to do. We need to interpret that if we can feel love in other people, and if they can feel love in us, and we can understand them, and we can relate to them intellectually, then we must be all the same. I mean, it's obviously genetically that we all come from Africa. It's obvious genetically that we can get blood transfusions from each and every one of us. It's obvious that we're all from Adam, or Adam, as Solomon the Persian says. It's obvious that we're all from one blood strain, and we all been creations or hybridized from God. If that's the case, then our beliefs in God are justifiable and not unique, but prospectively special to every culture. And our interpretations are, because of that, are very different. Just like you can cook any vegetable in any flavor and it still tastes really good. It's the same idea. So when we do these things, then we understand that God is actually in every race and every culture, and that's the cipher, the true key of knowledge, and it's the actual philosopher's stone, part of it. The philosopher's stone. I talk more about the philosopher's stone. Is more than just something that turns metal into gold. I mean, it's an idea. Why would that be called a philosopher's stone? Now, philosopher's stone basically is secret knowledge about spirituality, about chemistry, about science. Those two things in general. But like I said, we need something that will merge everything: science, physics, health, psychology, psychiatry, chemistry, biology, all those things, spirituality, religion, belief versus faith, which is very, very different, and love, and sexual health, and all these things together will actually bring us closer to God. And in that way, we avoid the 2012 paradox, which is incorrect. It's the 2012 paradox. It's not the 2011. It's 2011 is actually the gateway, and that's why you have that 11/11 phenomenon. And basically, it basically that's what it really is. And it's not that we're too late.